Hi everybody, I'm Rebecca Kelly from Flat Living Magazine and I'm here today with Crawford Burns from CPL to talk about CPL property management software. Thanks for joining me, Crawford.
No, great to see you, Rebecca. It's an absolute pleasure and thank you very much for the invite.
Thank you. So we're going to have a quick look at the CPL property management software, but before we jump into that, can you tell me about who you are and what you do at CPL?
Yeah, absolutely. So historically, I've had quite an interesting and checkered past. I spent 20 years working inside retail, and then round about 2000, believe it or not, I moved from retail into safety management software, which was quite an interesting jump considering I had been selling shampoo for most of my life up until that point in time. So interesting transition for me, and I spent about 18 years doing that. So that meant, for me as an individual, that meant taking some products to market from design and concept, and some of those products were getting used on some of the largest construction projects in the UK at the time. So the software that I had been involved in designing and taking to market was being used on the likes of the Olympics, the building of the Shard, Terminal 5, so some big, nice kind of high-profile projects. And then I decided to come back from London and move back to Scotland. You can probably tell from the accent that I'm obviously Scottish. So I came back to Scotland, and I was interviewed for a job by the gentleman who owns CPL, a guy called Brian Welsh, and it just seemed as if we were a good fit for each other. So originally I came on board to the team as product manager. That was my title. So the kind of idea behind that was to look at the CPL product stable as it was at that point in time, and see if there was particular markets that we could maybe evolve into, as we have done over the last 3 years that I've been with the organisation. My title's now changed, and I now have the very highfalutin title of commercial manager. I can never work out whether that's a promotion or a demotion from product manager, but given that I had a sales kind of background and a sales sort of history behind me, it made good sense for me to move kind of into that role. So the commercial stuff that I look after now is all of our accounts, all of our new business, excuse me, and that covers the sort of 3 main products that we have that we're inside the market space at the moment.
Thank you. It's really interesting just to hear what you've been doing before as well, just to get a better idea of who you are. Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
So today we're going to be talking about the CPL property management software. So could you give me a quick overview of what that is and what it does?
Yeah, absolutely. So the CPL property management software has been around for about, I was going to say for about 10 years. We are actually in the middle of celebrating our 10th anniversary. So the application was designed initially by Brian Welsh and one of the large property management companies in the UK. Since then, it has developed into what I would normally refer to as an ERP system for property management. So ERP to me is Enterprise Resource Planning, which is a big title for things like SAP systems, which have got lots of bolt-ons to be able to do different things. But essentially, everything around the CPL software is around developments, clients, financials, and anything that essentially you would use to run a back office within a property management company. Now, from a back office perspective, in my opinion, that's literally anything from you interacting with the client to check balances, to take account payments, to update and upgrade credit control statuses, to simply getting new blocks and new clients on board, excuse me, for you as a client, right the way through to running insurances, ceasing to factor, ceasing to manage, or even the point where, excuse me, you're looking to run what we refer to as proposed works. So, big pieces of changes within your blocks. If you're looking for those to be managed by the application, it's got the ability to be able to send out notifications to let clients know how much they have to pay and all that kind of stuff. So we have a back end that does all of that. Plus, we also have front end interaction with your end clients, so where they can look at how they can make payments through portals and also apps. And finally, if you like, the sort of last bit that we think sort of closes the loop, we also have some software that helps deal with your contractors. So your contractors can interact fully with you from a property management perspective, where you can send them over quotes and then they can respond to those quotes and so on and so forth. So we reckon if you were to talk about a kind of cradle to cradle journey inside property management, we think our software encompasses all of that. And the 10 years has made it, and it might sound like a bit of a negative thing to say, but in 10 years it's turned it into quite a big beast. But I think that's quite a positive thing, because it's the application itself is very, very configurable. Therefore, you've got the ability to be able to switch things on and off. And in my opinion, having been involved in software for 20 odd years, I think there's a word out there which is used quite a lot, which is customization. And customization to me always means that the end client has to invest money in getting a piece of software that's particularly designed for them. I prefer to use the one which is configuration. And essentially inside our application, you have somewhere in the region now of about 500 switches, which allows you to be able to configure it in a manner that we think pretty much tailors it for any client that we've dealt with over the last 10 years. So some may have 5 or 6 switches on, others may have 80 or 100, and clearly if there's 500 switches in there must be some combination that somebody somewhere along the lines has got quite a few of them switched on.
That sounds really interesting. So it sounds like it covers this whole scope throughout the whole process, like you've said. So I think what would be great now is if we can have a look at some of those key features and see what it looks like and see how it works, if that's okay.
Yeah, happy to do that, Rebecca. Thank you. Our software is designed and has been on the market for the last 10 years. It is now quite a large piece of software in terms of it being all-encompassing for the back-end applications used inside property management. The product itself is designed around a flow where the system is based around developments. Those developments then have inside them a number of blocks, and those blocks then have inside those either clients or they have tenants, depending on which terminology you choose to use. There's a couple of things I'd like to show you just before I get into having a look at the software itself. The system, I would like to use the terminology that the system has a lot of configurability rather than us as an organisation coming to you around customization. Customization to me as an individual means that you have to spend money making the software do what it is that you need it to do as an organisation. At CPL, what we very, very much believe in is the fact that if we give you a cost around something, that cost, we really should not be coming back to any point in time during our journey to ask you for more money. As a result, we have developed this list that's in front of you, which is a completely configurable client list, allowing you to be able to configure the software in a manner which will make it usable within your business. So that you work hand in hand with our implementation team, and they understand what your needs, wants, and desires around simple things like your budget headings and your charge codes, permissions for the people that work inside your business, how regularly you want inspections to be allocated inside your business, how often you do charges, what types of charges those are, what your management fees are. If you have debt, how much debt that you want to charge to your clients, and how regularly you want debt letters, etc. to go out. So all of that is covered as part of their system parameters. And the other thing, which I would like to think we have a fairly encompassing suite of, is client reports. Again, there are lots of people out there that where they will provide you with a piece of software, and then the reports that then go along with it either require you to be a Philadelphia lawyer to work out how to create them, or alternatively, it costs you money every single time that you need a new report written by that software provider. With CPL, we have a suite of reports which you can see covers a huge range of the functionality which is part of the software itself. We also give you the ability to be able to create user reports, and those user reports are defined by you as a client as to what you want to see. From my personal perspective, having had a lot of experience inside the software world, the software development world, what this does do is it gives business owners, managers and directors the ability to be able to get out of the application the types of data that would be required to report on, either from a financial perspective or from a business performance perspective. So those are the two kind of key things that I think, in terms of system setup and outputs, those are the two sort of things I would think that are really quite important to people. The application itself, you can see, if you look at the tabs which run across the top of the application itself, you can see the types of areas that we cover with our software. So I will go into the developments tab just in a second, but you can see from the options across the top that we have the ability to look at developments, clients, and purchase ledger. So essentially your purchase ledger is all of your interaction between your contractors and yourselves, the payment of those contractors, and obviously what leads into that are the jobs, proposed works and estimates, which are across here, excuse me, and also then subsequently any proposed invoices which come in from your contractors awaiting for payment. And we also have these sort of last two tabs on the end here, which look at cyclical maintenance. And cyclical maintenance for us is planned maintenance, which happens on a cyclical basis. It might seem a bit ridiculous because it's stating the obvious, but essentially if you have a piece of maintenance which results in a job, and that job happens 6 monthly, quarterly, annually, biannually, you can plug that into the application, and what the system will do is essentially it will automatically generate a job for whichever the selected contractor is at a set time period, so 6 weekly, 6 monthly, annually, biannually, and at that stage, as soon as the job is created inside the application, the job will be sent across to the contractor, and once that job has been completed and an invoice is uploaded, the next one in that sequence will just automatically be generated inside the system. You have the ability to change and amend, obviously, the time periods and the particular contractors if you choose to, but it's just a way of automatically generating jobs inside the system. So the developments themselves, what we have inside CPL is, excuse me, what I would say is an all-encompassing master development tab. And the master development tab inside CPL, as you can see, looks at an entire range, everything that the 10 years that we've been involved in this industry, everything that we can think of that would be asked of a property management company. So essentially the development itself, it looks at what type of property the development is, your nominal bank account associated to the property manager, your credit control manager, and so on and so forth. You also have the ability down here to be able to look at templated information which you can send out to specific or across the board developments. So things like your client letters, your welcome packs, etc. They can not all be assigned directly to the development from this master tab. The yellow color for this particular one simply shows me that as an individual, this is a particular type of development. It's a visual aid. It lets you see simply when you're looking at a range of all your properties, what particular development type it is. It allows you to look at, excuse me, on the right hand side here, how regularly you've got inspections which are booked for this particular development, how your charge codes are set up, and again, these are all done as part of your configuration for the application itself. And at the top, we've got this little summary section, so it tells you the number for the development, what its particular name is, number of properties, and the total number of blocks. And then over on the right hand side, it looks at the charges, obviously, and the development balance and monies due. So development balance, obviously, current state of debt, and excuse me, the balance due is obviously monies which are owed. Also, if it happens to be a budgeted development, your EAE, so your estimated annual expenditure, can sit here, so that you have a bit of an indication as to the amount of money you're looking or likely to spend on a particular development. So that's the sort of master tab for the development. Each and every one of these further tabs are all specific information related to this particular development. So if I go into blocks, these would be the blocks specific to Balmedy Heights, the properties specific to Balmedy Heights, your diarised charges for Balmedy Heights, jobs, and so on and so forth. So essentially, if you take a quick look at the blocks, inside the blocks here, you can see that this particular development has got 7 blocks. This summary sheet on it gives you an idea as to the sort of debt, the amount of management fees, etc., which are being charged for the individual blocks. And then if you move further across and down and into the properties, this will give you a list of each and every one of the properties inside that particular development, and inside the individual clients that you can select. It will then give you the specific information for that client. So if I select this one as a for example, then excuse me, this is property number 4, and the property address, obviously the rest of the sort of summary information for the client. And then if you click on the account number itself, you can see a detailed breakdown of all of the information related to this particular client. So by moving down through our structure, you literally start at the development stage back here. You can then look at the property stage, as I did before, and then you can come down to the individual client. And at the stage where you're looking at the client account, this will tell you everything that you need to know about this particular client. So floats, monies paid, current balance, monies owed, full transaction history of that particular client and how they have paid for their information, any credit control status is that this particular individual has gotten to. And then as you move across some of these tabs across the top, you can look at the internal memos. So that's memos that have been shared individually, internally, I beg your pardon, which have not been shared externally with the client. But you can also look at letters and documentation. So any letters and documentation which have gone backwards between you and the client, so any email correspondence, any letters around proposed works, photographs that they may have sent in for repairs and so on and so forth, that all of that information is stored inside the application, so that this is very specific to this one individual account. And then as you work your way across the rest of the tabs, you kind of get a bit of an idea as to how specific the information is that we capture against each and every one of the clients. So that information can be as detailed as you choose, and based around how your application has been configured and set up. The more information that you work on with our implementation team, the more information you'll then be able to capture and subsequently analyse when it comes to either running reports, running charge code types, running nominals, or so on and so forth. So for purposes of today, I'm not going to run through each and every one of these particular tabs. Rather, it's just a wee bit of a flavour of some of the things that we have inside CPL and what some of those particular aspects of the application look like. So I'd just like to thank you for your time and for listening, and if anybody has anything you'd like to know, then please let me know. That'd be great. Thank you.
It was really interesting to see the software as well and understand how it works. If people want to find out more about you, if they want to get in touch, where can they find CPL?
You can get us at www.cplsoftware.com. You can get in touch with me directly on my mobile, which is 07584 684726, or you can quite simply drop me an email. I'm more than happy to run through demos and software, or see if there's any questions that I can help with. My email address is quite simply crawford.burns@cplsoftware.com.
Perfect, that's brilliant. Well, we'll make sure all that information is on the screen as well. But thanks so much for your time today, Crawford. We really appreciate it.
Thanks. Nice to see you, Rebecca. Thank you.